Well, hello, everyone. My name is Tammy Mitchell, and I'm here today with my colleague, Cindy Haddocky, and we are here to dispel some myths about structured literacy and personalized learning. And so we're glad that you could be here with us today. So Cindy and I are going to do some Q&A, and hopefully we'll answer all of your questions and you will be good to go. Gosh, Cindy, you know, I've heard that every school has to report scores for kindergarten, first and second grade this coming year. Can you tell me more about this?
Thanks, Tammy. I sure can. I will tell you that for this school year, the 2020-2021 school year, no one has to report. It is totally voluntary. So if you would like to report scores, if you've done screening this spring, please go into the KIDS system and report. However, if you're going to report next year, it will be required for all kindergarten, first grade, and second grade spring scores. So in your third benchmark period next year, which will be spring, I need to have the scores added to KIDS for kindergarten phoneme segmentation, first grade nonsense word fluency, and second grade oral reading fluency.
Hey, thanks for that. So if a school is supplementing their guided reading program with phonics, then they've already met the requirements for the initiative, right?
Well, that's not so much a yes or no question. What I would have a school district do who brought me that question is ask them to really look at their core resources. Do their core resources explicitly and systematically teach all of the components of structured literacy, which do include phonological awareness and phonics, but that's not all. Does their core resource also teach morphology? Does it teach syllabication? Does it teach syntax and semantics, even in kindergarten? So you have to look at the big picture. It's not about supplementing one piece and making a whole. We have to really be able to look at our core resources and find out where our holes are to meet all of the needs of all of our kids. So the simple answer to that question is no. You can't take a guided reading program and plug in a phonemic awareness or phonics program and make it conform to the outline and regulations that we would like to see in a structured literacy program.
Thank you for that. All right.
Tammy, I have a question for you now. One thing I hear all the time is that if I'm going to do systematic and explicit instruction, then there is no way I can possibly personalize or differentiate instruction. Is that true?
It is false. They are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they really do need to fit together. And maybe Cindy, you can expand on that a little bit more.
Absolutely. When you teach a phonics lesson and we want it to be whole group or systematically and explicitly taught, you need to look at the needs of your kiddos. If you have kiddos in your class who already are readers, then maybe they don't need a CVC lesson, or maybe they don't need a lesson on understanding how to blend, but they need higher level instruction and personalized instruction to meet their needs. We don't ever want those kids learning alone. We don't ever want those kids to be separated from their peers, but they actually do need some components of phonics. For example, your higher readers really need instruction on syllabication. They really need instruction on morphology. They really need instruction on phrasing and intonation. So all of these things you have to look at day by day by doing formative assessments and seeing where your kids are. So yes, it's totally you are totally able to do systematic, explicit instruction and personalize and differentiate at the same time. Tammy, I have another question for you. Every school in Kansas is expected to screen all of their students K-12, provide intervention K-12, and train every teacher by 2021. How are we able to do this? How is that going to happen?
Well, that is a question that we hear quite a bit. And I know that across the state, everyone's pretty overwhelmed. But here are some things that we want you to remember. First of all, not every system will be at the same place at the same time. It's going to look different at every school. Start where you are and build up. Our goal is to have a robust core reading and evidence-based practices available for every student in Kansas. And this is going to take some time. It is not a switch that we can flip overnight, but please don't rush in and provide training to your teachers. There are going to be ways to scaffold this and bring everyone up to where they need to be. So Cindy, one question that we keep hearing is, when will higher education start producing graduates that have the knowledge of the science of reading? Where are we at as a state on that one?
Well, actually, we're further ahead than a lot of people think. Every program that was asked to conform to these regulations by the Dyslexia Task Force has actually done that. All of the regulations have been approved by the State Board of Education and the Science of Reading and the International Dyslexia Association's knowledge and skills for teachers of reading have been embedded in all of those practices. So that's happening. Now, when you have graduates from elementary ed programs leaving their colleges and universities from Kansas this year in May of 2021, they will take an exam of their knowledge of the science of reading. Now, that doesn't cover all the components of what we are asking you to do with teachers. So those graduates will have a knowledge of reading, a knowledge of the science of reading, but they may need some help with, what do you do in my building for screening? What do I do for tiered intervention? How does data review look? Those are the types of things you're going to have to customize for your new teachers in your building. Now, another thing is, if you have a teacher who's coming out of an English language arts program or a high incidence special education program or early childhood or a reading specialist program, they are going to have embedded in their programs science of reading exams that they have to pass. That won't happen until 2024. So when you get graduates out of those programs in 2024, they are going to leave knowing all of this information that we are presenting to the state. So you only have a small window to really get everyone on board, but I think we're going to see a big change in our college graduates very soon.
So once a school has finished the required 6-hour training, what should their next steps be?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because we're getting lots and lots of questions about that. Just like we talked about in the previous question, for a few years, you're going to have to fill in the gaps. And those new teachers coming out of some programs are really going to need that initial 6-hour training. However, next year, if you've already done the 6-hour training, your requirements for next year are done. However, we highly encourage you to do some training next year on dyslexia or structured literacy. That being said, the requirement will be, and it is in statute, that every year there is mandated training on structured literacy or dyslexia. And we want you to customize that based on the needs of your students, based on the needs of your teachers. It could be program training. It could be specific training about dyslexia. It could be intervention training. It could be assessment or data training. However it looks for you, the state will not mandate a duration for the time, or will it mandate when it has to happen. So it could be a PLC day. It could be during staff meeting over several periods. It doesn't have to be a whole single professional development day. However, it could be. It's up to your district to make those decisions. All right, last question, Tammy. I'm going to let you tackle this one. Here's one thing I'm hearing very frequently from school administrators and teachers across Kansas. COVID has been hard, but here's what I'm hearing. They are saying that this structured literacy initiative is just one more thing added to my plate, that KSDE is just expecting another thing out of us. How would we address that?
Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge that, yes, it has been a really, really hard year. And educators, not only across the state, but across the nation and even across the world, have taken on extra responsibilities, extra paperwork, extra reporting because of COVID. And so everything feels like it's something else and something else and something else. And we acknowledge that, and we're sorry. It's been a really, really hard year. But I guess, my mantra has always been, let's not add more to the plate. Let's figure out what the plate is. And in systems, your plate is your KISA plan. And in buildings, your plate is your local school improvement plan. For redesign schools, it's your redesign plan, but that's the plate. And I believe that the structured literacy piece is an ingredient that goes into the reading and ELA section of your plate. So think about your little lunch tray and all of the different compartments, and make sure that the structured literacy is a necessary and needed ingredient in your English language arts and reading instruction, certainly at the elementary level and really across the curriculum, because every teacher should be teaching students how to read and engage in the content of that subject area.
Well, thank you, Tammy, for engaging in this Q&A with me and with the field. We want you to reach out if there's anything you need. We hope this little snippet of Q&A helped answer some of your driving questions, and we wish you all the best for the rest of the school year. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.